Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and finally I found a large-scale successful mini kiwi farm in Germany. This is the Beerenhof Michalsky, or you can also find them under the name Bio-Hofladen Sexau. Apparently Bio-Hofladen Sexau is the shop where they sell their mini kiwis and other berries, and Beerenhof Michalsky is their name when they go to the market. And look at all this plethora. They have 1 hectare, that's like 2.5 acres of kiwi berries, with a total of 4 hectares of different berries. That's like 10 acres. Might not sound like much, but remember, they are specialized in berries. It's not corn or cattle, and 10 acres of berries is a lot of work. But look at those beauties. So the Michalskys, they come from Poland, and 18 years ago they decided to start farming in Germany. And they thought, okay, we got a small piece of land, what shall we grow what nobody grows around here? And their first idea were the mini kiwis. Back then it wasn't so easy to get mini kiwis in Germany. Now you can get a lot of varieties from German nurseries. Back then they got their first mini kiwis from Switzerland. A lot of the mini kiwi plants here on this plantation are already around 17 years old. So they got some from Switzerland, but they wanted to diversify. And they thought, where can we find more mini kiwis? And they found a lot more varieties in Poland. I mean, mini kiwis are quite popular in cold countries, so they're in countries with cold winters, because depending on the variety, a lot of them are really frost hardy. I somehow read something about some are being frost hardy to USDA zone 4. Makes sense, because some are being grown in Finland. So they found first mini kiwis in Switzerland, then a lot of them in Poland, where apparently there are huge plantations, then a lot of varieties from Bavaria, and they grew their berry farm. Later they added a lot of different berries, also a bit of bigger fruits like apples and pears, but in small amounts, also some veggies. Yeah, looks really successful. They have about 10 varieties of mini kiwis. They couldn't even tell me right now the names of all the varieties, because they said, yeah, the German customers, they are not so interested in the names of the different mini kiwi varieties. As long as you have mini kiwis for them, it's such a rare and exotic fruit, they're happy with it. This one, I think she even told us the name was this Rote Bayern kiwi or something.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a red Weiki from Bavaria. Yeah, she has 10 different varieties, which is a very clever thing, because despite being here in the warmest and in one of the mildest areas in Germany, frost is an issue. So she says they have another plantation just 1 kilometer away from here, and everything froze there, because the mountains here in the background, that's the famous Black Forest. And the Black Forest is quite a cold mountain, and cold air likes to flow downhill. So the cold air, not just in the Black Forest, in almost all mountain ranges, likes to flow down through the valleys, and then it spreads in the lowlands and creates lakes of cold air, basically. Yeah, and this year the other plantation was hit quite hard. She gave me a lot of different climatic information and also marketing and other informations. I hope I give I hope I can relay everything more or less reliable to you, not forget too much and not confuse too much. So she said when they started, they usually had frost in March and April. No, they usually had frost in May. That's the infamous Eisheiligen, so basically the last kind of reliable frost days in Germany. Let's try a couple of those tasty kiwis. This might be overripe already. Phew. Yeah, unfortunately overripe. So she said when they started, yeah, they could expect this frost in May. But now frost tends to come in March and April, which is good stuff, which is pretty bad for the kiwis. They start developing in February in the mild winters we have nowadays. That means you want to prune them in winter, you do this in January. And she said pruning is basically the most labor-intensive part. 2 workers usually need about a day to prune just a single row, and they have dozens of rows of mini kiwis. And they prune them 3 times. They prune them once in winter and twice in summer. Well, so because of this frost, which now comes usually in March and April, they got a lot of losses. Even in this plantation, she explained to us, this or that variety was good last year, this year they don't fruit. This or that variety didn't fruit last year, this year most of the varieties fruit. So many that they even have trouble harvesting everything on time. And because they have 10 varieties, each year some varieties will get hit hard by the frost, because all varieties flower and fruit at slightly different times. Delicious. I don't like hairy fruits, so whenever I learned of the existence of those kiwi berries, I was so happy. Kiwis without hair. She says in a good year each plant can have up to 30 kilograms. And they have well over 1,000 fruits, but they never had more than 10 tons. 10 tons of berries you have to pick berry by berry is a lot. If it's corn or pumpkins or apples, 10 tons might not be so much, but if you have to pick tiny berries by hand, that's a lot. So 10 tons is more or less the maximum they ever had. And this year, actually, they have trouble harvesting them all on time. Nice old kiwi plants. Nice tasty little berries. And as you can see, they have been pruned recently, because if you cannot prune them after just a couple months, you cannot even run your tractor and cut the grass in between. We are now, by the way, the end of September. Delicious. Prime mini kiwi harvesting season. She said a couple times they also tried with stuff like pergolas with kiwis and so, but they notice they don't need a bigger amount of kiwis because of mini kiwis, because that's already a lot to manage. So you see here and there they have tasty pears and apples and other fruits, and they have a lot of berries, which I'm not showing you right now because most of them, the harvest is already finished. Look at those beautiful mini kiwis here. And because I find the mini kiwis the most important thing on their farm, and it is what they started with, and it is still the main thing. Yeah, so the harvest is going on. She also taught us they had to learn a lot of the craftsmanship basically by themselves. They used to go around and touch every berry and just harvest the ripe ones. And now they found out if they harvest them when they are still hard but already developed enough, within a week they ripen really nicely. Yes, of course, the ones that ripen on the vine are the best. We all agree on that. But they are super soft then and very hard to transport and store. And of course the customers, she doesn't sell most of them directly to consumers, but to different traders. They don't want ripe fruits which will rot within a couple days. So now it's much easier. They don't have to touch every berry and wait and hope that it's ripe already. When they know they are ripe enough, they harvest a row completely and sell them. They have a lot of different ways of selling them. It's really crazy. Like, they built all the craftsmanship of growing those things on their own, and they also built a lot of marketing. Like, they have their shop where they sell directly to customers. They sell to wholesale vendors. They sell on markets, and they also sell to basically suppliers which supply people with a box of assorted fruits and vegetables every week. She says that's what works best, because they take sometimes a couple thousand little bowls of berries, a couple thousand little boxes or cardboard bowls of berries. Yeah, but this year they have so many fruits, they are wondering if they should try another marketing opportunity just to let people harvest their kiwi berries themselves. But of course she's a little bit afraid that they have a lot of trouble with people who like to steal fruits around here. They already had to make a fence around their Physalis plantation. And she's afraid if too many people know about the kiwi berries, theft and vandalism will increase a lot. But yeah, it's really amazing how many different ways of marketing this stuff she finds, and really successful. I've seen a couple other farmers, they try a couple rows of kiwi berries, a couple days later, a couple years later, they are disappointed, didn't work out like they thought. But here, 18 years already, over 1,000 kiwi plants. Mostly mini kiwis, but they also have a bit of the big hairy ones. Wow, this was super sweet. This was super good. Delicious. Yeah. This year she says it was a little bit tricky, like frosts in March, April, then parts of the summer were quite rainy. That means you get a lot of fruits. You need a lot of, look at those things, you need a lot of workers to harvest all of them. So many different challenges, and I've seen so many other farmers either completely surrendering, well, not so many, I've seen several other farmers either completely surrendering to those challenges, or at least reducing their kiwi berries from 6 rows to 2 rows, just not to give it up completely. She's been faithful to the kiwi berries for the last 18 years. They are producing very well for her, despite all the setbacks. It is a very successful farm. They had to develop most of the methods on their own. They also developed a lot of other berries. I'm so impressed. Also, this lady Michalsky is such a nice person. Amazing. So folks, if you come to the area of Südbaden, definitely visit their shop. I'm not afraid to make advertisement for them. I'm not being sponsored in any way, except that I can eat a lot of kiwi berries during filming here. But I totally support this alternative to standard to standard agriculture here. I totally support having a lot of kiwi berries in Germany. I like those kiwi berries like crazy. I have I've made my own kiwi berry collection with about 12 varieties, but 1 or 2 plants of each one. And I really hope it's going to be as successful as this one in future. So folks, tell me what you think about this great kiwi berry collection. Tell me what you think about this farm and about the history of it. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and incredibly fruit-rich berry farm of the Michalskys. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.